Hello, this is In Season. This is the In Season podcast. I haven't decided what I'm going to name it yet. Maybe it's the AFK Analytica podcast. But either way, I'm here talking about AFK Arena, and I wanted to discuss with you guys this new Graveborn that's about to come out, Ivan. Ivan the Bonesmith. He's intellect, he's support, and he's a primary role buffer. So he's a buffer class. Now, I have a lot of thoughts about him, but I think what I want to do is start by reading through the skills and giving some thoughts and ideas along the way there. He's got a lot of reading through his skills. It can sound pretty complicated, but hopefully I can distill it to make it easy to understand and comprehend what's going on. He's actually a very simple hero. Look or try to hear for try to pick up on the shielding type stuff he does. Shielding is a very, very important concept when I talk through these skills. His squires that he sculpts, quote unquote, or summons, his summons seem very daunting right off the bat when I talk about them, but I assure you they're like it's a very simple concept of what they're doing. He does some buffing that's buried in here, and he does a little bit of CC. He's a very good hero. I recorded a podcast on Mishka a while back. Okay, that was quite a long time ago. 6 months to a year ago, and I haven't done a podcast until then. And I've done a few videos here. The most recent video I did on YouTube of note was Tamaris. Now, if you know anything about AFK Arena and Tamaris and Mishka, you know that those are, hallmark heroes, key heroes, pretty meta shattering heroes. I haven't been making content unless a hero kind of strikes me as pretty interesting. Recently we had Genius. I liked Genius quite a bit. He actually reminds me a bit of Tamaris. He does more shielding, and he doesn't do more stunning, but he reminds me of Tamaris quite a bit, but he's not quite as good as Tamaris. And then this hero Tricia came out, Tricia or whatever. Now, both of those heroes, I wasn't sure at the time, but I told most people, hey, these are probably skippable. Now, I built them so I can test them, but I never recommended anyone else should really build them. Now, I'm happy I told people that, because this hero is not skippable. And we're going to see why as I talk through these skills. And I wanted to say before I start talking about this, I think that we're seeing a different AFK Arena, a different release cycle in how heroes are released, let's say. Now, what does that mean? So I think with the advent of these awakened heroes, really strong awakened heroes right now, strong carries, Brutus, Athalia, Matria, Belinda, okay? These are some really strong heroes. Baden, okay? These are carry heroes. We used to call heroes hyper carries. We used to say Lucretia is a hyper carry. Now, looking back, or from the vantage point we have now, that almost seems laughable, because these heroes are so much stronger than Lucretia. Now, because we have these hyper carries and awakened heroes that we're getting, faction heroes have now become designated to a new role, which is CC, buffer, control. Yeah, there's a few more things that they do, but they mostly control the fight. They manipulate the positioning. They silence. They move the fight in a certain direction. These heroes are not necessarily carries anymore. It's not like we're getting heroes like Kren or Raku that are like, these are strong carries, we need to build them because they're doing ridiculous amounts of damage. No, this is not happening anymore. Now, which heroes have come out recently that are more similar to Kren and Raku? too. Crassio, Yorin, and Tricia. Now, those heroes are capable of doing high damage. Now, are they as essential to build? No, because we have these strong awakened heroes that outclass them in every way, and by stat scale alone, it's pretty tough to compete with them. Okay, so what's happening is the only heroes in the faction side of things that are must build, high priority, etc. They are control, they are buffer. Now, that's because buffers can buff our strong awakened heroes. So keep all that in mind when we're listening to the skills and as I'm talking through this. Okay, so first ultimate ability. I'm going to try to talk pretty quickly through these and then, give my thought process. Okay. Spellbound. This is an ultimate. Ivan hides into the darkness and becomes untargetable. While manipulating the allied hero with the highest initial attack rating as a puppet for 16 seconds. He sacrifices 10% of the current health of other allied heroes, granting the puppet a spirit shield equal to 2,000% of Ivan's attack rating and the total HP sacrificed. So the only thing you want to get from that is that his ultimate grants his main target, the puppet, 2,000% of his attack rating as a spirit shield. So so very, very large shield. And it scales off of his attack percent. So when you're investing, you want to say, hey, okay, I really care about attack percent when I'm investing in this hero. Where does, my attack percent come from? Does it come from duplicate furniture, maybe? Does it come from his normal furniture? Does it come from engravings? So like those attack percent notes and engravings, very useful for him. Yeah. And okay, so in the main point, the key point of this hero is that he shields the highest attack rating ally. Okay, so who is that going to be? That's going to be your Athalia. That's going to be your Brutus. That's going to be Matria. That's going to be Belinda. Okay, Belinda. Okay, big high attack percent awakened heroes, or your carries. Maybe a Scarlet. Maybe a Crassio. Okay. The spirit shield cannot be dispelled and can protect the puppet against control effects while under manipulation. That's pretty useful as well. Prevents, your hyper carry from getting controlled. Nice. The shield disappears when the manipulation ends. If the shield is broken, Ivan will manifest early and stop manipulating the puppet while losing 20% of his max HP. This line is a throwaway line because later on you'll see that that actually, there's a caveat to that. Okay. While hiding in the darkness, Ivan can acquire up to 800 energy points. Now, why did they add this? I'm not quite sure, because some of his scaling is based off his current energy. But what I reckon is that if he, I'm not sure why they did this. It's possible that at a higher energy amount, that this skill just ended up being broken, so they had to cap it, because I can't really think of any other reason why they would do this. I mean, my gut reaction, my first reaction is that, hey, at 1,000 energy, maybe he ults again and then it's problematic, and so they had to add this little caveat. But there's tons of heroes that have this type of thing where they're prevented from ulting even if they have full energy. So that can't be it. So, I mean, my little tinfoil hat is saying that it was so good they just had to cap it. When you see something like that, you want to pay attention, because usually it's pretty good. When no allied hero can be chosen as puppet, Ivan instead receives a spirit shield equaling 2,000% of his attack rating. Now, this is completely useless. I've actually seen this happen. if there's no other hero on the field, then he'll just give himself a shield, and then it's just a 1v5 with him with this massive shield fighting everyone but doing no damage. Point is, that's useless. Okay, now this is a very important thing. While being manipulated, a puppet receives attack rating and haste equal to 60% of Ivan's attack rating and 60% of his haste. This is probably the most, I hesitate to say this, but the most important line in all of these skills. He buffs the puppet with 60% of his own attack rating and 60% of his haste. Okay, what does that mean to us? We want to stack attack percent and we want to stack haste, because all of that, not all of it, 60% of it, but most of that is being given to our puppet. And who is our puppet? Our awakened heroes that we care about. Okay, level 3, when manipulation, okay, this is another pretty cool and important thing. When manipulation ends, 100%, I might have spoke too soon. 100% of the shield's remaining value is converted into health and returned evenly to all allied heroes. So if the shield isn't broken, it's redistributed back to his heroes, to your heroes. If a shield is broken, Ivan sacrificed 10% of his current health of all allied heroes and replenishes the spirit shield. Okay, this is the important line. To 2000% of Ivan's attack rating. Okay, this effect can only be triggered once. What does this mean? When the first shield breaks, he can instantly add another shield on. So this isn't 2000% of Ivan's attack rating. This is 4000% of Ivan's attack rating in reality, assuming that the full shield is used. This is some pretty powerful shielding. That's quite a bit. I'm not going to do the math, right here on the podcast over the airways, but that's quite a bit, my friends. And that's the ultimate. That's one of the most confusing abilities. Just to go over it again, what does it do? It gives a shield to your highest attack rating ally, which when he ults, that's usually your awakened heroes, that's your hyper carries. This prevents them from being controlled. It gives them a 2000% attack rating shield first, and then when that breaks, it gives another 2000% attack rating shield. This is pretty strong. Now, what else does it do? It buffs the ally with 60% attack rating and 60% haste. That's freaking good. Okay, that's one of the strongest. That's one of the best shielding things that I've encountered. Art of Agony. This is skill 1. Each time an allied hero other than a puppet receives damage equal to 5% of their max HP, 5% is not very much, they recover 20 energy points for Ivan. Okay, at level 3, this goes up to 50 energy points. So every time an allied hero other than a puppet, well, this isn't Ivan. Well, okay, this is Ivan as well, actually. So 4 heroes. The puppet, this isn't for the puppet. So every time four of your heroes, four of your heroes are granted the effects of this passive skill. Every time they receive damage up to 5% of their max HP, which is not very much, Ivan recovers 50 points of energy. So Ivan receives energy at a ludicrous rate. Okay, and we already just talked about his ultimate being bananas good. So the point of all this is that Ivan, almost always gets his ultimate off before dying. There's caveats to that. At deficit, he'll get one shot sometimes. But if we're looking at a treasure scramble scenario, a PvP scenario, you can bet your butt that he is getting his ultimate off. It's pretty nice. And if you're putting some of this together in your head already, you can already say or think, hey, this is probably pretty good with stall comps. This is probably pretty good with Seal. Yeah, it is. It's probably pretty good with Thorin, Flora, Trez, Taline, maybe Kelther, some of those stall heroes, Theowen, mix it all up, put it in a stew, and yeah, it's pretty tasty. Okay. While being manipulated by Ivan, a puppet receives 6 additional points of crit rating for every 100 energy points Ivan possesses. Okay, what is this? What is this little bit? Okay, so if you remember back to the amount of energy Ivan can have during his ultimate. The max amount of energy he can have is 800. Okay, so what does that mean? So 6 times 8, the puppet can have an additional 48 crit rating. That's a lot of crit. Now, if you remember some of Belinda's scaling, the more crit that Belinda has, the more damage she'll do. She scales off of her crit. That's pretty useful. Belinda has high attack rating. She's often the puppet. That's pretty useful. Very good synergy there. So let's look at skill 2. Okay, this one is kind of complicated, but I'm gonna read through it really quickly and then summarize. Not go as in depth as I did with the ultimate, because there's actually not a lot going on here, and a lot of it is just flavor text and a little bit overcomplicated. But I'm going to read it through quick. Ivan sculpts 1 Skeletal Squire in the allied half of the battlefield every 5 seconds. Squire inherits 100% of Ivan's initial attack rating, health equaling 300% of his initial attack rating, and 50% of his other attributes. The Squire dies when its health is exhausted or 4 seconds after it is sculpted. The Squire actively attacks the nearest enemy with 100% of its attack rating while taunting nearby enemies for 1 second during its first attack. When the Squire perishes, it deals damage for 300% of its attack rating to nearby enemies. When an allied hero dies, Ivan immediately sculpts a Skeletal Squire where the hero dies. Level 2 of this ability, of this skill, when an allied hero dies, Ivan sculpts an enhanced Squire with double attack rating. Level 3, when an enemy dies, Ivan sculpts 1 Squire. When an enemy hero dies, 1 Squire. This effect can only be triggered once every 5 seconds. When the Squire dies, Ivan receives 200 energy. 4, all Squires' haste is further increased. Okay, this is from E30. The amount of haste is not mentioned. Okay. When a Squire dies, the enemies damaged lose 300 energy points and are stunned for 3 seconds. Okay. Now, what do these Squires do? This is an interesting line that kind of stands out to me. The Squire dies when its health is exhausted or 4 seconds after it is sculpted. Now, if I go back to the first line, Ivan sculpts 1 Skeletal Squire in the allied half of the battlefield every 5 seconds. Okay, so this implies that there's only 1 second of overlap between Ivan's summoning of his Squires. What does this mean? It means that generally speaking, you're not going to have a bunch of overlap of Squires. Now, the caveat of that is if A, an allied hero dies, he sculpts a Squire, or B, an enemy hero dies, he'll sculpt a Squire. Now, are these Squires damage dealers? I don't think so. I don't think that this is a high damage output. From what I've looked at in the battle reports, this isn't a damage dealing type mechanic or summon. Now, what does it do? What these guys do is primarily taunt. They're good taunting heroes. So what does that mean? They direct attacks towards them, and sometimes, they may field some sort of fatal skill or attack that saves one of your more important heroes from dying. Okay, that's why I like taunts, especially on summons, because they're very disposable. Also, this E30 I think is quite good. When a Squire dies, the enemies damaged lose 300 energy points and are stunned for 3 seconds. Now, if I understand correctly, when the Squire perishes, it deals damage for 300% of its attack rating to nearby enemies. Now, this is a small AoE. So basically, when the Squire dies, enemies lose 300 energy, which is quite a bit, and they are stunned for 3 seconds. That is not a, marginal stun duration. That's a lot of energy, and that's a decently long stun, and it's an AoE. So they taunt, which directs enemies towards them, and they do an AoE stun and energy drain if you have E30. Okay, Okay, so this E30, I'm pretty sure this is E30. I keep getting this mixed up. Yeah, that's E30. That's a pretty good E30. That's especially good. I mean, that's not going to be very good for Nightmare Corridor or Cursed Realm, but it's going to be very, very good for Treasure Scramble, and probably pretty good for Campaign and Towers as well. A taunt in Deficit Campaign that does AoE stunning. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so then we get to our last ability. Each time Ivan captive audience. This one's kind of interesting. I like this one. Each time Ivan hides into the darkness. And okay, so what's the darkness? The darkness is when he uses his ultimate for 16 seconds. He selects the nearest enemy hero as the audience. Okay, the selected audience then flees erratically in panic for 3 seconds. Okay, think maybe Leo Frick. He does a nice fear at level 3. So the control duration for the audience is 6 seconds. So it's a 6-second fear. The audience's defense rating is reduced by 35%, up to 35% of Ivan's initial attack rating. Now, attack rating has a higher magnitude than defense. This is just another reason to get higher attack rating. This would be relevant in, say, maybe Nightmare Corridor if he comes up there, although we haven't seen him there yet. And Deficit Campaign. I suppose if you have insanely high defense, maybe like maybe Brutus or something, this would come into play, but I'm not quite sure. But I don't think that this capping is really relevant. I think this is sort of just to make sure that it doesn't get completely out of control, but it reduces defense pretty significantly. When control ends, the enemy hero released from the panic's audience state has their haste reduced by 35 points for 8 seconds. That's an E60. Now, to my recollection, Mortis has something pretty similar on his E60 as well. So I like to think that this guy is kind of a love child between Theowen, Mortis, and who shields. I don't know, but Mortis and Theowen and some shield hero. I had a really good one for that, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But the way that Theowen, becomes untargetable and hides in the shadows, and whatever goes to the spirit realm goes to the upside down, that's what this dude does. And he buffs haste, he buffs attack percent. Mortis is attack speed, but I like to kind of make the equivalence there. His E60 is very similar to Mortis's E60 in that it reduces haste. Now, is that a very high priority E60? I don't think so. But I will say that because he gets haste on his stars from engravings, and because he buffs haste based on his haste, you probably are his engraving stats are very good. You want to invest pretty heavily into his engraving stats, if I had to guess. Now, I'm just gonna go through the upgrade mechanics really quickly. On the SI, he gets haste from his SI. It's very good. HP percent, defense, and attack. Pretty normal there, but it's nice that he gets haste. That means the 5, 15, and 25 have increased haste. Okay, so the main thing here is when Ivan... At +0, as they say, when Ivan hides into the darkness, he sacrifices 2% of the current HP of other allied heroes every 2 seconds and replenishes the shield for 90% of the total health sacrifice. Now, in what scenarios would this be good? Probably in Treasure Scramble, where you have a bit. It's possible you have a bit of time to replenish the shields here. Now, in something like Deficit Campaign, this is not going to be something that's impactful. It's probably not even impactful for Cursed Realm, although I'm not quite sure. It might actually play a role. And Nightmare Corridor, unlikely but possible. Okay, now +10 and +20 just increase the replenished amount up to 150. So just to read that again, increases a portion for which a spirit shield is replenished to 150. Now here's the kicker, the +30. When other allied heroes sacrifice their HP, a puppet recovers 100 energy points. Okay. So every 2 seconds, the puppet recovers 100 energy points, and this could possibly be from every hero. I haven't checked this, but it's possible it's every hero. Regardless, to say that this plus 30 is likely pretty good and allows your carry to regenerate as much energy as physically possible. Very good plus 30. I think that will probably be a minimum benchmark or something that you want to kind of plan and shoot for. Okay. Now, exclusive furniture. Now, just off the bat, the exclusive furniture duplicate stats are a little bizarre. They're only a defense and attack percent. Now, a very clever player will get +1 attack percent. Or excuse me, they'll get +1 duplicate furniture on large because it has attack percent bonus, and hanging or wall furniture because it has attack rating bonus. Okay, pretty neato. Yeah, so if you want to get duplicate furniture, get +1 large and hanging. Now, for free to play or whatever, most players, that's not something that matters, but someone like me who likes to min-max the duplicate furniture, that's something of note. Okay, now 3-9. When Ivan hides into the darkness, he sacrifices 8% of his current HP. He sacrifices 8% of the current HP of the audience every 2 seconds to replenish a puppet's spirit shield for an equal value. The health sacrifice each time will not exceed 200% of Ivan's attack rating. Now, to me, this looks a bit of a throwaway. Now, this could be relevant in Treasure Scramble. I don't think it's relevant in Cursed Realm based on the stuff that I've seen so far. Maybe in Deficit Campaign, but really don't think so. I think that this is a throwaway 3-9 ability. Now, this next one is pretty good, but what are the ramifications? 9-9. During manipulation, damage received by a puppet is reduced by 50%. That's a lot of damage reduction, 50%. And the uptime of this ultimate, pretty long, 16 seconds, and he's ulting pretty frequently. That's a pretty good 9-9. Now, again, where is this going to be useful? Okay, it could be useful in campaign in some areas, not super useful. Damage reduction traditionally hasn't been the best ability or skill. Now, will it be good in Cursed Realm? Yet to be seen. I think it's possible that it might be useful based on the upper limit. Now, what happens in Cursed Realm is, damage gets to a certain amount that if you're doing enough damage, the damage incoming gets to a certain amount where your heroes are getting one shot. Now, if that's the case, this could be a pretty useful thing in Cursed Realm, but, we don't have that much data on that quite yet. Now, is this something that's very good in Nightmare Corridor? Very unlikely. Is this something that's useful in Treasure Scramble? Absolutely. This is absolutely a good ability for Treasure Scramble. So that's a bit of a mixed bag. Now, is that a must-have furniture? For Treasure Scramble, I say yes. For all other mechanics, less likely. I think that the plus 30, the energy gain recovery, 100% for sacrificed ally HP, or not 100%, 100 energy for sacrificed allied HP. I think that's more significant because that will work and have value for you across all game modes. Okay, that was the furniture. Now let's look at engraves. Now, as I said before, for stars, you get plus haste. That's a very good stat. I also want to say on the nodes of note, he gets plus heal. Why? Which is funny because I don't really know why. I'm not sure if plus heal benefits shielding. If it does, this is a phenomenal stat. If it, this is something I really ought to know, but shielding is a bit of a complicated thing. I don't think that it does, but it's possible. He doesn't do any other healing though, otherwise. Okay, he has a haste node and he has 2 insight nodes, and one of the insight nodes has a haste secondary. Those are pretty dang good nodes. His engraving stats are the best of all of his stats, I would say, from upgrading mechanics. Now, with the caveat of haste being on signature items, that's pretty good as well. What is his endeavor stat? Plus attack percent, plus defense. Interesting. Not the best. What we would like here is plus attack percent, plus haste. That would be broken. That would be extremely good. But no, that's not what we're getting here. Okay. I already told you the E30 and E60 in the rundown, but I'll just reiterate that the E30 is the AoE stun for the squires and an energy 300 energy loss for the enemy's hit. This is pretty dang good. I think that this is probably, a minimum benchmark for treasure scramble at minimum. And then this E60, which is less useful, which is the audience hero, or the hero that he attaches himself to when he uses his ultimate. It reduces their haste by 35 points for 8 seconds. This is good, but this isn't great. Okay. This is akin to something like Mortis E60. Okay. Wow. So that was quite the rundown. Now, okay. So what else can I say about this hero? I said quite a bit about this hero. I think that, to reiterate before, I think Genius and Trishia, those were heroes that were skippable. I think this guy is a priority, must acquire. Very good. All players will want to acquire this guy for buffing. Very good. Also on test server already, he has been used in Cursed Realm to a obnoxious degree. So in let's see, what round is this? This is the Kane Cursed Realm. This is on test server. In round 2, the composition used is Blade, Pet, Yen, Lorson, Belinda, Palmer, and Tamaris. And that's a 12.5 billion damage output. Now, with our boy Ivan, we are doing 14.6 billion. That's a 2 billion damage increase at the top end. With a lower level Blade Pet. Same level. Excuse me. Let me double check this. Yeah. Although, yeah. Okay. We can already see that he's very, 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 very good in Cursed Realm. And we haven't been, I'm just realizing that Cursed Realm level is 330. It's 330. Now, I don't remember it being that low. I thought it was 360, 340, although it doesn't matter. Okay. Now, classically, we've been seeing damage capped at 12 billion, around there. This is the highest damage I've seen in Cursed Realm to date. 14.5 billion. That is a lot. Okay. That is a lot. And so you can bet your butt that whales are going to be all over this, like white on rice. Yeah. I don't even know what that means. They're gonna be really excited about this hero. I can tell you, I'm excited about this hero. Okay, so what is there left to say? Okay, what is the min benchmark on this hero? If you acquire this hero, you want to get A1 for sure. You probably want to acquire stars as well. You want to probably get 2 stars. You probably want to go to A3. You want to probably get your SI plus 30. The furniture is good at 9.9, not so good at 3.9. So you have to fully commit, and that's only useful for treasure scramble. And as far as engravings go, you definitely want to go to E30, and you definitely want to pick up the haste there. I also want to give a little caveat there that he has 2 insight nodes, and that stun on the E30 and the fear that he has are very good and probably warrant increased insight node nodes to take. And if you want to invest even more into him, you can also grab the attack percent node, because that will buff his shielding. Now, do I recommend you go to E60? Probably not. Now, if you want to go to E60, you can. It's not going to be bad. It's probably very good, but I would hold off on that personally. For most players, I would say don't go for E60. So you can get away with less furniture, and you can get away with going something like E33 or let's see. If you're really smart, you'll go 1 point on insight for each. That's 50 cores per insight point. And then you can get 3 points in haste. And then you can go 1 point in attack percent, or you can go 5 points in attack percent. And then at the very most, you could go 9 on the minor nodes, 5 on the major nodes. So that would be 44, E44. That's pretty good as well. Okay, I really run the gambit on everything there is to know about Ivan. Although, I haven't really talked about team synergies, but the sky's the limit, my guys. You can do quite a bit. Okay, this has been In Season. I haven't done a podcast in a long time. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully it'll turn out okay. Tried to keep it short. Tune in next time. Tune in next week. This has been In Season on the AFK Arena podcast. Over and out.